day class and Coach Jude. I am Danica Padora, the little teacher of STUDYHUD6. Today we will present to you the topic 3. It's all about organization and management learner-centered classroom. At the end of this discussion, students are expected to first identify various forms of learner-centered organization based on learner-centered needs. Second, formulate classroom procedures and routines that promotes discipline, fairness, respect, and care among learners and encourage learning. Third, design, organize, and explain the significance of the layout of the physical structure of the classroom for active engagement and of learners, individually or in groups, exploration, discovery, and hands-on and self-learning activities. Fourth, describe the rules and responsibility of teachers, the learners, for supportive, inspiring, motivating, and productive learner-centered classroom. And last, evaluate high disciplinary action are positive and non-violent in the management of learner-centered behavior. So, as a teacher, we are dedicated to becoming proficient, productive, responsible educators in an increasingly complex and challenging world. We do not just instruct, assess, or guide our students, but we are challenged to serve an effective classroom managers to these students towards quality learning. The quality of learning directly reflects our management in the class. So, the teacher's action poses a great impact inside the classroom. Classroom management makes up the size of the teacher task, and there is no shortcut to class management. It's either you will be successful or fail dealing with your students. So now let's move on forms of learner-centered classroom organization, procedures, and physical structure. Physical setup is one of the most important components in teaching. It reflects your teaching styles and also reflects you. How we design our classroom has an impact on the way our students think clearly. A conducive learning environment promotes effective teaching and learning. As an ICT educator, we are constructed to facilitate all those students in their ICT classroom. So, in that classroom, we are creating a facility for the interest of every children. We have here group activity, especially group activity to conduct group discussion among those students. And we have teachers facilitator area, so the teacher or facilitator area is always in front. So we have for individual and computer activities. So as an ICT students, we have to encourage students to be more recognized about the computer because they are ICT students. So we have the student storage area where they can put their things and also tools for their ICT activity. And we have storage area for tools and equipment. So we have here, we as an educator, we promote organization towards this ICT classroom because we do not encourage damages or risks among our classrooms. An ICT classroom encourages technology-driven learning through teamwork, creativity, and practical experience with the digital tools. It provides direct access to technology, supports various learning methods, and ensures efficient progress tracking. Students develop digital literacy and teamwork skills for future careers and in contemporary workplace. So we are designing this classroom layout for an ICT students because we encourage those ICT students with their abilities and also in creativity in doing ICT work. So we are encourage here ICT students not as an educator, we are not focusing only on individual tasks, but also we are focusing on their performance among this, because this ICT layout can facilitate all the needs of the ICT students. and not only for an ICT class but also for an ordinary class. So for example, we have doing a group activity. So we cannot do a group activity. Yes, group activity. They can drag their chairs to have a circle desk to share ideas, and we have here on also the individual activity for learning. First, we have room structuring. We have here individualized learning. Set up learning centers or stations for students to work at their own space depending on their abilities and interests. Set up an individual work area for this type of learning. So for individualized learning, in our classroom layout, we provide each student has this area because they can learn more about in their personal doing based on their interests and passion in doing ICT projects. So next, we have group learning. Organize them around tables or cluster of desks. You can organize them in groups for cooperative learning. So for so let's go on for our ICT layout classroom. So we do a group discussion table or desk for a group discussion only. So that is encouraged for collaboration, socializing for students to share their ideas among this project or how they will do a socialization in this classroom. Third, we have frequent whole group discussion. Try a circle or U-shaped desk configuration where everyone has a front row seat. So, arranging or set up a room with this circle or U-shaped desk because students will look forward for us only for the teacher and also for communication for this other students, for collaboration and also socializing. So last is activity-oriented classrooms. Set up a large table for cooperative project, provide space for wet and messy projects. So this one is we are providing the space for those students who has this interest because we encourage students to be organized about their doing and compassionate what they are doing. So for an example, students are love to troubleshoot some computers, so they are provided this area for their troubleshooting because yes, for this area because it can be damaged and also it can be a risk for those computer inside of this classroom. So next, let's move to classroom routines and procedure. Creating consistent routines for common classroom events like getting attention, correcting homework, excusing oneself, posting visuals, updating on missed lessons, break time, and clearing desks helps maintain order and frees the teacher to focus on instruction. Establishing routines is not that difficult for teachers who are strict and non-negotiating. Establishing a routines sends a message to students that they should cooperate in maintaining order in the classroom. According to Erlinda D. Serrano and Ana Ruby M. Paez, classroom events that can be routinized are the following. First, we have getting attention of students to respond a particular question, reactions, and etc. Correcting homeworks in class, excusing oneself for emergency purpose or use of the comfort room. Posting visual aids on the board, updating oneself of the lesson when absent in class. Going out of the room during break time, clearing the table desk after performance of tasks, swapping of partners in discussion, performing participatory group reporting, and sharing of responses. So, it is important setting a clear routines for common classroom activities, create a structured environment where students know what expected and how to behave. For an example, using a consistent signal to get students' attention like raising your hands, ringing a bell, help quickly focus in the class. Correcting homework as a group and ensure accountability and reinforce the learning. Allowing students to quietly signal and use hall for passing emergency and restrooms use to reduce disruptions. Designing space for visual aids and lessons update keeps informed, organized, and accessible. Helping students catch up independently, managing break time exists in an orderly fashion prevents congestion and maintains calm. Encouraging also the students to clear desks after tasks, instill responsibility, and keeps in classroom tidy. Structured partner swaps and group formations ensure smooth transitions during discussion, while guidelines for reporting and sharing responses help students' ideas confidently. These routines promote efficiency, minimize interruptions, and create positive learning atmosphere where students are take responsibility for their action, allowing teachers to focus on instructions. So, routines is important because the classroom provides students in a predictable day, which is necessary for their ongoing learning development. Knowing to what anticipate, they will help them more secure and confident in their day-by-day activities. Class time is more productive and pleasurable when there are established processes. They provide stability to students by following the rules and procedures in the classroom. Your students will understand what is expected from them. Effective classroom procedures and routines provide numerous advantages to students, including a reduction in behavioral issues and distraction. Knowing how to behave in class can help students learn and accomplish more, which will increase their chances of success. So let's move for benefits of routines. Routines provide structure, reduce anxiety, and allow teachers and students to predict expectations, leading to a more efficient learning environment. The following are the reasons why faithful observance of routines is highly beneficial. So first, we have routines, procedures help in freeing the minds of the teachers to think about other matters in teaching in every time an activity is performed, and a teacher has to consider some options on how to do it. It will be too taxing on his or her parts to constantly think and decide. So second, establishing routines on how to collect assignments or distributing materials enables the teachers to focus more on his or her lesson planning. Third, in the execution cash lesson, a teacher who has routines for calling on students or revealing himself or herself for the burden of worrying about whom to call next and who's allowing more time to focus on what is being shared by the students. So fourth, it is easier for the students to predict their teacher's next move, and armed with such knowledge, they can be concentrated and learn more. Fifth, stability is assured, especially for the new students who are unfamiliar with the class rules. And the last, reduce anxiety on the part of the students who do not know how to get involved in different class activities. Routines and procedures in the classroom provides students with a predictable day, which is necessary for their ongoing learning development. Knowing what to anticipate each day will help them feel more secure and confident in their day-by-day activities. In class time, more productive and pleasurable when there are established procedures. They provide stability to students by following the rules and procedures in the classroom. Your students will understand what is expected from them. Effective classroom procedures and routines provide numerous advantages to students, including a reduction in behavioral issues and distraction. Knowing how to behave in the class can help students learn and accomplish more, which will increase their chances of success. So, in a conclusion, effective classroom management is a cornerstone of quality learning. Teachers play a crucial role in creating a structured environment where students thrive. By implementing clear routines and procedures, educators minimize disruptions, promote responsibility, and foster positive learning atmosphere. The path to successful classroom management requires dedication and consistency, but the rewards are evident in student growth, engagement, and academic success. Ultimately, the teacher's action shapes the learning experience, making classroom management essential skills for every educator. So that's all for my topic. The next presenter is the second member of STUDYHUD6 will represent the other topic.
Good day everyone in Coach Jude. I am Matulisi de Pedro, the second member. And today I am presenting the social environment and creating a motivating learning environment. So first, what is the social environment? So the social environment, fairness, respect, care, and encouraging learning in every classroom. The most successful in learning occurs when teachers are facilitators or activators of learning. Learning is more engaging when the classroom climate is welcoming to all learners. So for my explanation is the most effective teachers act as facilitators or activators of learning. Rather than just delivering information, they guide students to think critically and engage actively. A welcoming and inclusive classroom encourages students to participate and feel valued, making learning more engaging and effective. So, when students feel respected and supported in a fair and caring environment, they are more motivated and engaged in learning. So the next is encouraging learning. Teachers act as facilitators, encouraging students' participation, listening to their perspectives, and valuing their opinions. This fosters a safe space for asking questions and taking risks when the teacher's management plan is fair, consistent, and organized. The students understand what to expect and can make wise choices and take responsibility for their actions. Teachers should be a model of good communication and behavior for them to evaluate. The attitude of teachers must be one of support and fairness because this is the foundation of which effective classroom management and positive teacher-student relationships are formed. As teachers, we should promote gender and racial equality in all subjects, give equal praise and expectations, treat each other with dignity and respect, listen to each other's points of view, recognizing that there may be disagreement, and do not use derogatory words to your students. Aside from being fair and showing respect, teachers can show they care about their students by knowing their students and the lives they live, actively listening to them and asking students for feedback would mean you value their opinions and experiences. This creates a culture where students feel safe to ask questions and chances, which will help them grow academically. So in here, Teachers should act as facilitators, encouraging participation, listening to students, and valuing their opinions. A fair and consistent classroom management plan helps students feel secure, make responsible choices, and take academic risks. Teachers must promote gender and racial equality, give equal praise and expectations, and ensure all students feel valued. A supportive and fair classroom environment where students feel heard and respected leads to better engagement, confidence, and learning outcomes. So the next is creating a motivating learning environment. The foundation for any learning must be built on a safe, positive, and nurturing learning environment where there's open communication. Develop a learning environment where students feel motivated to learn within the boundaries and expectations of a safe classroom. By modeling and encouraging a safe environment and purposeful rule, students feel motivated to do the right thing and help each other. Teachers need to emphasize intrinsic motivation in the classroom to keep the students interested and invested in their own learning goals. Intrinsic motivation is the self-driven type, and it lasts for a long time and must be developed among students. Also, intrinsic motivators help students understand the expectations of the classroom and aid in their intrinsic motivation. These kinds of motivators include praise, positive reinforcement, and rewards for exceptional behavior. So in here, a motivating learning environment must be safe, positive, and nurturing, where the open communication is encouraged. Teachers should establish clear rules and model positive behavior so students feel motivated to make good choices. By balancing intrinsic and extrinsic motivation within a structured, supportive environment, teachers can inspire students to take ownership of their own learning and develop long-lasting motivation. The next is, what is intrinsic motivation? Teachers emphasize intrinsic motivation, encouraging students to be self-driven and invested in their learning goals. So in intrinsic motivation, teachers emphasizes encouraging students to take ownership of their learning by fostering curiosity, self-motivation, and a genuine interest in learning. So the next is, what is extrinsic motivators? While intrinsic motivation is the goal, extrinsic motivators like praise, positive reinforcement, and rewards can help establish expectations and support intrinsic motivation. So, extrinsic motivators. Using praise, rewards, and positive reinforcement to guide behavior, establish expectations, and gradual support of the development of intrinsic motivation. The next is the 5 effective ways to get your students excited about learning. The number 1 is encourage students. Students look to teachers for approval and positive reinforcement and are more likely to be enthusiastic about learning if they feel their work is recognized and valued. Encourage open communication. Praise your students often. Recognize them for their contribution. If your classroom is friendly, where students feel respected, they will be more eager to learn. So, students seek approval and positive reinforcement from teachers. When they feel recognized and valued, they become more enthusiastic about learning. Teachers can foster this by encouraging open communication, frequently praising students, and recognizing their contributions. A respectful and friendly classroom makes students feel safe and motivated to engage in learning. The next is involve students. One way to encourage students to be involved in the classroom is by teaching them to be responsible. Make participating fun by giving each student a job to do. Give students a sense of ownership, allows them to feel accomplished, and encourages active class participation. Encouraging students to take responsibility in the classroom fosters engagement and motivation. Teachers can assign classroom roles to make participation fun. Give students a sense of ownership, making them feel valued and accomplished. Promote active participation, helping students stay engaged and take learning seriously. So, when students feel responsible and involved, they become more motivated, engaged, and eager to contribute. The next is offer incentives. Setting expectations and making reasonable demands encourages students to participate, but sometimes students need an extra push in the right direction. Rewards give students a sense of accomplishment and encourage them to work with a goal in mind. In this, while setting expectation helps give students, incentives can provide an extra boost in motivation. And for the rewards, you can give students a sense of accomplishment, encourage them to work towards goal, and help reinforce positive behavior and effort. Incentives can be a useful tool to keep students engaged and motivated, especially when they need encouragement to stay on track. So the next is be creative. Avoid monotony by changing the structure of your class. Teach through games and discussions instead of lectures. Encourage students to debate and enrich the subject matter with visual aids like colorful charts, diagrams, and videos. Create a warm and stimulating environment. So, keeping lessons creative and dynamic helps prevent monotony and keeps students engaged. Teachers can use games, discussions, and debates instead of just lectures. Incorporate visual aids like charts, diagrams, and videos. To enhance understandings, create a warm, stimulating classroom environment. By making lessons interactive and visually engaging, teachers can spark curiosity, maintain student interest, and improve lecturing outcomes. The next is connections to real life. Showing your student that a subject matter is used every day by real people, giving it a new importance. If they see how it applies to them, they may be motivated to learn attentively. So in connections, in connecting lessons to real life situations makes learning more meaningful and engaging. When students see how a subject is used in everyday life, they understand its relevance and importance, become more motivated to learn, and also pay closer attention because they see its practical use. When students see how knowledge applies to their daily lives or future careers, they become more invested and engaged in learning. So in additional considerations, we have learning modalities. Teachers should recognize and accommodate different learning modalities such as visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile learners. As for learning modalities, students learn in different ways. Visual for seeing, auditory for hearing, kinesthetic for movement, and tactile for hands-on activities. Teachers should recognize and accommodate these styles to enhance learning for all students. So, the next is student-centered discipline. The content emphasizes student-centered discipline, focusing on logical consequences, consistent application, student-specific responses, and conflict resolution, and calm spaces. So in student-centered discipline, focuses on logical consequences rather than punishment. Discipline should be consistent, individualized, and focus on conflict resolution. Creating calm spaces helps students self-regulate their emotion. By adapting to different learning styles and using fair, student-centered discipline, teachers create a more inclusive, engaging, and supportive classroom environment. So the key takeaway, learner-centered classroom organization about creating a supportive, engaging, and motivating environment that empowers students to take ownership of their learning. This involves thoughtful room structuring, establishing routines, promoting a positive social environment, fostering intrinsic motivation, and implementing effective classroom management. And as for my reference, here are they. Thank you for your attention. And thank you, class. Goodbye.
Good afternoon, Coach Jude. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimverlie D. Sayadi. I'm third member of STUDYHUD6. So today, I'm going to discuss about learning-centered classroom roles and responsibilities. So first, we proceed to student-centered classrooms. So it involves changes in the role and responsibilities of learning and structured in the delivery of instructional strategies and learning itself. So these all differ from those in the traditional teacher-centered classrooms. Like in student-centered classroom, they need to involve changes in the role and they take the responsibilities of learner and structure. So here below are the roles and responsibilities for the teacher and learner. So first we proceed to teachers. Number 1 is recognize and accommodate different learning modalities. So here in number 1, teacher they need to recognize and accommodate the student-centered classroom from different learning modalities. So second is provide structure without being overly directive. So here teacher need to provide structure without being directly. Like example, they need to lesson or lecturing about the topic, or they need to give the task. And third is we listen to and respect each learning point of view. So here the teacher and learner, they need to respect each other from point of view. So number 4 is encourage and facilitate learning shared decision making. So here is teacher, they need to encourage this student-centered learning and facilitate them and share decision making. So fifth is help learning work through difficulties by asking open-ended questions to help them arrive. So in number 5, teacher need to help the student learner work through difficulties by asking open-ended questions to help them arrive. So next is we proceed for learner. So number 1 is active participant in their own learning. So here the learner, the student-centered learning, they need to be active participant in their own learning centers. So second is make decision about what and how they will learn. So here the student-centered learning, they must need to make a decision about what and how they will to be learned. So in third is contract new knowledge and skills by building on current knowledge and skills. So here in number 3, they need to contract a new knowledge and skills by building on current knowledge and skills. So the fourth is understand expectation and are encouraged to use self-assessment measure. So fifth is monitor their own learning to develop strategies for learning. So here in number 5, they need to monitor their own learning to more improvement or to more develop by to use strategies for their learning. So number 6 is work in collaboration with other learners. So here they need to collaborate each other for making, like example is for making brainstorm. That one the example of collaboration. So number 7 is provide work that demonstrate authentic learning. So at the end of the lessons, the student will be able to know what are some examples of authentic learning. So I'm going to discuss that and explain that to us or to you. So next, we proceed to authentic learning. So it involves active engagement with real-world problems and tasks. So it is all about applying knowledge and skills in meaningful contexts, not just memorizing facts for tests. So here some examples of authentic learning. So first, we proceed to project-based learning. Students work collaboratively on projects that address real-world issues like climate change or community needs. They research, plan, execute, and present their findings. So second is service learning. Students volunteer in their communities, applying their skills to solve real problems and learn about social issues. So second is internships. Students gain practical experience by working in professional environment by applying their knowledge and skills to real-world tasks. So next is inquiry-based learning. Students ask questions, explore topics, and conduct research to find answers. So this this authentic learning it is to encourage the student-centered learning to have a critical thinking and solving the problem skills. So last is collaborative learning. Most students work together on projects and sharing their ideas and perspective and learning from each other. So these all examples it demonstrate to how authentic learning that can be incorporated into a various educational settings, and it is all about creating opportunities for students to connect what they learn in the classroom to the world around them. And the last is my reference here. So thank you so much, everyone.
Good day, Coach Jude. Good day, class. I'm John Rex M. Edullantes, and I'm the fourth member of the Study Hub number 6. So today, I will discuss to you about the classroom routines and procedure. So the first one is the collaborative class norms. So it always starts with the basic. So every class should have a short list of class rules or norms that develop together positively praise. Developing this list as a group allows students to see that why behind the rules and buy into how they are enforced. Create 3 to facilitate the development of the list, not develop it yourself. Work on how you rephrase and narrow these rules. In other words, this is usually established by both students and teachers to encourage teamwork, communication, and mutual respect. So the goal of this is to create a culture where everyone feels comfortable contributing, listening, and engaging with others. And I have some examples of collaborative class norms. The first one is the active learning. It is paying attention when others speaks without interrupting. The second one is the respectful communication. It is speaking politely and valuing everyone's opinion. The third one is the supportive environment. It's encouraging others, offering help, and also providing constructive feedback. The fourth one is the sharing ideas, being open to expressing thoughts and asking questions. While the last one is accountability, taking responsibility for individual and group tasks. So the second one is the logical consequence. It is our disciplinary action that are intended to teach students to make better behavior choices rather than to punish them. One of the best ways to teach our students to accept responsibility is to use logical consequences. Logical consequences teach students the hows and whys of the good decision, rather than making them feel sorry for making a bad choices. Why do logical consequences work so well? When the consequences is related, reasonable, and delivered respectfully, the student make the connection with their own behavior and is less likely to resist or deny responsibility. So the goal of the logical consequences is to help students develop internal understanding, self-control, and desire to follow the rules. So logical consequences are respectful of the child's dignity, while punishment calls upon elements of shame. Make sure that the consequences are connected to the misbehavior, so students don't learn from consequences that feel spiteful and or unpredictable. So in other words, just to make it simple, logical consequences are the result or outcomes that naturally follows from a particular action, statement, or situation based on reasoning or logic. There are three types of logical consequences. So the first one is time out or take a break. It is not a punishment. You are not banishing the child for misbehavior. Instead, you are asking them to take a few minutes to regain self-control and to think over what just occurred. Like for example, when the student make a derogatory remark about another student's response to a question, you take a break and let the student realize what he or she just said. So the second one is that you break it, you fix it. It is used this type of logical consequences when you see an opportunity for students to solve problems they cause. When something has been broken, feelings have been hurt, or a mess has been made, whether accidentally or intentionally, the sequence is that the one responsible for the problem take responsibility for fixing it. Like for example, one child accidentally knocks into another on the playground. So she stops, apologizes, and offers to help the other child. So the third one is the loss of privilege. It is used this type of logical consequences when a student does not follow expectation. Use this type of logical consequences when the student delay, test, or simply forget the rules. Like for example, a student speaks rudely to the teacher. So the teacher refuses to listen to her or him until she or he changes his tone.
Good day, class and Coach Jude. I'm Joan Carissa Achlim, the fifth member, and today I'm continuing the discussion of classroom routines and procedures. The fourth member of our study hub, Chanrex, already done discussing about the first and second classroom routines and procedures. So, the first one is collaboration class norms, and the second one is logical consequence. So now, moving on to the third, we have the consistent application. Consistent application. A classroom without consistent practice can often be chaotic, but creating an environment that welcomes uniform response to behavior choices will support each student understanding of expectation. Unchanging rules and regulation ensure that student and family understand classroom norms and know what to expect when those norms are not met. The consistent application goes hand in hand with logical consequence. Consistency in rules, consequence, and reinforcement is crucial for maintaining a stable and effective learning environment. Um, so why it matters? When students know what to expect, they feel more secure and are better able to focus on learning. So inconsistent enforcement of rules can confuse students, make it harder for them to understand what behavior is acceptable. So consistency also help build trust between teacher and student, as students see that everyone is treated fairly. So example, you suppose you have a rule that student must raise their hand before speaking. If you enforce these rules one day but ignore it the next, student may become unsure about when and how to participate. However, consistently requiring hand raising and responding appropriately each time, you can create clear expectation that encourage orderly behavior. So, in addition of that, consistent reinforcement isn't just about consequence for negative behavior. It also applies to positive reinforcement, praising students regularly. For instance, recognizing a student for continuous staying on task encourage other to do the same. So moving on, we have the fourth one. We have the student specific response. Student specific response. When responding to misbehavior, take into account that students' social, emotional, and cognitive skills for the students, as well what was happening in the situation. The consequence for student may be the same, but you may practice more with this student or have them reflect on their behavior. So, student-specific response. While maintaining consistent consequence is important, response should also account for individual student needs and circumstances. So, why it matters? Students are unique with very social, emotional, and cognitive abilities. A consequence that works well for one student may not be as effective for another. By understanding a student background, strength, and challenges, teacher can offer additional guidance or support while still enforcing the same rules. So, example, imagine a student who frequently push in line because they struggle with impulse control. So, while the consequence, exam like sitting out for a few minutes, remain the same, you might also choose to practice proper lining up behavior with that student more often. So additionally, if you forget to remind the student about their assigned line spot, acknowledge your oversight can demonstrate fairness while still maintaining the consequence. So this approach shows students that while their actions have predictable outcomes, teachers are also understanding and supportive in helping them improve. So next, we have the time for resolution. Time for resolution. In your class, develop routines for resolving conflict. This is not a skill that comes naturally to student or adult. So be prepared to guide and instruct the first thing taught. Provide the space and time for this to occur. Some teachers build this into their morning meeting or closing meeting. Have a conflict resolution process for disagreement between students. This process should focus on communicating clearly, finding agreeable solutions, and make plan to move forward. Time for resolution. conflict resolution is a skill that must be taught and practiced. And teachers should provide dedicated time for students to address issue calmly and constructively. Why it matters? So children often struggle to resolve conflict independently. So building conflict resolution routines into the classroom environment equips students with lifelong skills. By setting aside time for this discussion, teachers create a structured opportunity for students to reflect, express their feelings, and find solutions. So, for example, a teacher may hold a morning meeting where students can address any conflict that occurred the previous day. Um, During this time, students can discuss their feelings, identify the cause of the disagreement, and brainstorming ways to move forward. So this process encourage communication, empathy, and accountability. So um, conflict resolution can also be integrated into everyday interaction. For instance, if two students argue during group work, pausing the activity briefly to guide them through problem solving, help reinforce these skills in real life situation. So next we have the calm space. Calm, calm space. What happens when a student struggles to control their emotion or behavior? Do they have place they can go in your room or process they can go through? So lots of classroom have a take a break spot. This can just reinforce the behavior. Implementing a process for you to take a break spot and teaching it is more essential than what space look like. Students even complete the process at their desk, and this may work better for older students. It includes a simple process that students use that focuses on self-regulation and copying. Calm space. Providing students with a designated space or process for calming down help them manage emotion effectively. So, students may become overwhelmed or frustrated during class. Without proper support, this can lead to disruptions or emotional outbursts. A well-structured calm space combined with a clear instruction on how to use it encourage students to regain control without feeling isolated or punished. For example, many teachers create a take-a-break corner equipped with a soft-sitting sensory tools like stress balls and calming visual. So, however, the success of this space relies on teaching students how to use it appropriately. So, for older students, a calming routine that can be done quietly at their desk may be more effective. So, for instance, if a student shows sign of frustration, they may follow a simple process. So first, we have pause their work, and the second, take a few deep breath or use a mindfulness exercise. So in the third, reflect on their feelings using a worksheet or journal. So by guiding students on how to use calming strategies, teachers promote self-regulation and emotional awareness. So that's all for the discussion of classrooms, routines, and procedures. Thank you for listening and watching.